Hi, this is Gary Goodwin, founder of the Armchair Dreamer, and welcome. I recently heard about a new series on Netflix called The Queen's Gambit. I saw a trailer and then just a couple words of a partial review, and I got some sense it would be of importance to armchair dreamers, that it had something to do with imagination and had something to do with visualization. Today, we're going to take a brief look at it, and I'll let you know what I found. A little bit of the background. The plot starts with a young girl. Suddenly, she finds herself in an orphanage because her mother has just passed on unexpectedly. And you see some of her struggles to fit in with her colleagues there, to fit into this large institution. You know it probably was not going to be easy for her. Episode 1 does not stick in chronological order. We see Beth, the major character, at a variety of ages. She carries an intense interest for something she's going to discover at the orphanage with her throughout all these ages, and she also carries a way of visualizing that helps build her skills. The first thing for armchair dreamers in the Queen's Gambit is to see her story, her journey to the unconscious. How she starts off naive, it's like any other day, and then she encounters the unconscious and keeps that encounter up over time. This is the familiar hero's journey that's been talked about as an archetype in literature, other movies, and in art. What's interesting is it's not just for Beth, it's not just for the hero, but it's also our journey to the unconscious, not only when we first do it, but for everyday practice. Every day when we encounter the unconscious, we cover the same path. We make the same journey, either in total or in part. The journey to the unconscious usually begins with a descent. Beth's movement towards the hero's descent begins in light. It begins in a familiar location, and that is the classroom. One day she's seated there with the rest of the students. They are all given an assignment to do in class. Beth breezes through it and casting about for something to keep her busy. The teacher gives Beth some erasers from the chalkboard and sends her off, tells her to go to the basement and clean the erasers by the typical method of clapping them together. Beth finds herself out of the light of the classroom, cast out, and sent to the basement, where she's going to be entering darkness. So naive, unprepared, unwitting, Beth goes from the light to the darkness. The most common method of visualization or imagination work has us leaving the light, literally, that is, sitting down or reclining, closing our eyes to the light, and going into the darkness. It's the same journey. In the Queen's Gambit, Beth and us, the viewers, descend the steps slowly, going into ever-increasing darkness. And we can see ahead of us that this basement is not very inviting. It's barren. As we get to the base of the steps, we look around and see it's filled with passages and numerous rooms with who knows what within each one, other shadows, other darkness, and we are struck that it is a barren place. It's a labyrinthian sort of place, and it's a place that we, because we don't know what's there, are questioning. We feel fearful, therefore we feel very much alone, and we feel very vulnerable. The first time we do armchair dreaming, we too may face fears or cautions, things that we've been exposed to in movies and in literature about better not go into the darkness, or what you'll find in the darkness is only the negative side of oneself, and be careful, be cautious. You just don't know what's going to be found there. More often than not, when armchair dreamers go into the darkness and wait to see what comes up usually is in the form of a gift. And a gift can be an insight, large or small. It can be a breakthrough. It can be just the joy of watching our inner mind at work. But it's positive. What emerges out of the darkness in the basement for Beth is the janitor for the orphanage. Now, she has seen him earlier doing his work, but he doesn't really talk to people. Here he is, surrounded by his tools of his trade, in a darkened room, seated alone at a table, with the chessboard set up with pieces on both sides of the chessboard, as though an imaginary player is right across from him. But we learn that perhaps an imaginary player is there. It's the player of his memories, the janitor's memories and knowledge of past chess players and their opening moves, their winning moves, and that's who he is playing against as he sits there in the darkness alone. Beth cautiously and hesitantly goes over and approaches the chess player, and he's pretty much following the pattern of the hero's first mentor, withdrawn, cautious himself, not willing to be interrupted, doubting that there's anybody that he should be mentoring, that Beth or anybody else approaching him are not worthy of his time. The hero, and in this case Beth, gets a glimpse of something they haven't seen before, something that is tantalizing, something that seems deep, something that seems special, something that seems magical. To the objective observer, what she's seen is a chess set, pieces, a board, a game. Those materials are something more not for the objective observer, but for Beth, something to unlock mysteries within her. The hero and Beth and us, we've seen something we haven't seen before. We probably didn't even know it existed. Now we know where it's at least roughly. We know a little bit about how we found ourselves there the first time, but it's not going to be very simple for us. This great myth tells us there's going to be challenges that we have to face, there's trials we have to overcome. Then maybe we will get access, true access to that magic, to the magical treasure. The first trial, the first challenge for the hero and for Beth is a willingness to leave the light, in her case of the classroom, to walk down the hall, to approach the basement door, and to open that door and go down, make the descent. Trial number 2 is to have enough wits about oneself when one's in a dark, mysterious place, a place of, that we feel vulnerable and the rest, but to have something within us that can spot magic, even in that environment, in an environment that we're not expecting, where we're going to find magic. We're expecting to find magic in probably the lighted areas from somebody else that tells us that's the magic. But there's something within Beth that, despite her unusual situation, her unusual finding herself a place where she's never been before, where there will be anxiety and doubt, somehow or another, she has something within her that can spot magic. The next trial, the next challenge for Beth is to approach the keeper of the magic, that is, the janitor who's playing chess. Now, he doesn't look friendly at all. He's mysterious because he doesn't talk to any of the students there. We've seen that in previous portions of the movie. And you might say he's, dangerous looking. He looks like somebody you would move away from, not towards. But the hero needs to move on. To get to the magic, they need again to confront their own anxiety, their own fear, their own confusion, and find a way of moving forward, of approaching and moving into this next trial so they can move through it. But it's not simply the challenge for Beth and for the hero and for us is not simply to spot the magic and to work our way towards the magic by approaching the magic keeper, but is to ask questions, to seek knowledge. We could stop with anywhere along the line, as I pointed out. We could stop with just seeing the magic and then ignore it and get back to our own business. We can get up to talking to and approaching the keeper of the magic and then just leave it at that. The next phase of this, the next trial, is to ask questions, to seek knowledge, to find out what is the magic, and how we might get it ourselves. Of course, we have to prove ourselves. The mentor and his associates, other mentors, are not just going to hand out this knowledge, this information to anyone. Even if a person is brave enough and put together enough that they can move through the previous challenges, they still need to prove that they're worthy to receive some of the magic and to know more. We also have to be willing to show to the mentor that we're willing to listen, to hold back, trying from showing off what we know or what our assumptions are, simplify ourselves, and open ourselves to new information. Are we willing to be reshaped? Can we convey that to the mentor? Because that is what our trial is. It's not just us coming in, grabbing some new information, but it's us coming into a situation and letting new information shape us, new experiences remake and shape us. That is what we need to prove. Another archetypal proof is to show that we're working. We're willing to work hard, but we're putting in our own effort to learn, not only in front of a teacher, but outside of the teacher's presence. That this is something that's important to us to know that we really want it, to show that we really want it. We're putting in extra time. We're putting in the effort. We're showing up. We're digging deep, not just for one day or 1 week or 1 month, but for a long period of time. What we see in the Queen's Gambit and in other literature parallels pretty much the experience of the armchair dreamer. That is the experience of practicing and going into practicing with an open mind to learning each day something new, willing to go into practicing knowing that we cannot rush it. We learn and we progress when we're working with the unconscious. When we're doing practice, we're doing it to the schedule of the unconscious, not our schedule, but those parts within us, deeper within us, that we know are there, we can't quite see, and we have to wait for indications from them of when the next stage is, or indications and clues that we have progressed onward, that we're ready for something else. But it's a very similar experience. We can't cheat the mentor in the Queen's Gambit, fool the mentor. We can't fool that part of ourselves that's practicing with the unconscious. We cannot fool the unconscious. We go through the same trials and the same proofs as an armchair dreamer. And we see in beautiful cinematography and computer-generated designs Beth working her way through the trials and the proofs. There's a beautiful scene of her using visualization to see chess pieces as she's coasting off to sleep at night. As she looks up at the ceiling, the chess pieces come alive one by one and start to move on the board, teaching her, giving her insights about the nuances of chess. even well before the mentors had a chance to explain things to her. She's developing an understanding. Once she works through those, one day, the invitation to sit down and to join the mentor finally arrives. Through daily practice, our invitation can also arrive. It will arrive as being able to move in to our imagery, maybe faster, deeper, and we get more profound information, more profound insights, more profound beauty as we work within twilight dreaming. You can follow the hero's journey, Beth's journey, by learning more about visualization, imagination, and dreaming at armchaildreamer.com. This is Gary Goodwin, founder of armchaildreamer.com, and thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.